Okay, where to begin? So my girlfriend recently had to go to the hospital, and it's been like 2 days now, and I haven't heard anything from her yet. You're probably curious why she had to go to the hospital, and I'll mention it within a few minutes. I'll get into that. But first I gotta rewind a little bit, do a real little recap. So I broke well, my ex dumped me 3 months ago now, and I moved and I emigrated to a different country and left everything behind and started from zero. And then there was this 31 day period where I was going through an emotional breakdown, and I needed to progress everything and re-navigate and find myself again, understand what happened to me back then, and be able to survive because I was out of work, didn't have no money, had a lot of costs concerning moving and trying to keep the place running, because so much work needed to be done, had to be done, and everything was just basically just getting to me. Life was just completely crushing me. It was pretty brutal, to be honest. I did manage, and everybody knows what it is to cope. I'm as guilty as the first one looking at this video, and I decided to download OkCupid. I tried Tinder first. The reason why, because I hoped I would find someone nearby and distract myself in the sense of getting to know new people and have some decent conversations. But all I found was catfish type profiles and, women that were self-obsessed and, a lot of questionable people. So I gave up on Tinder after all the nonsense that showed up and that I didn't like. And I ended up downloading OkCupid after the last time I used it, it was like 2016. And it's now 2025 still. And I downloaded it. I talked to a lot of women from nearby countries. And it was nice. I met some interesting women I liked, genuinely had a good connection with, I vibed well with, and I would have taken the plane and would wanted to meet them in real life. But if you can't keep the conversation going or the interest just people start losing interest and there's no point pursuing or continuing whatever, because then you're just putting yourself in a position that you're hopeless. So I let those connections fizzle out deliberately because I didn't feel like there was any point continuing or pursuing or whatever. And at some point, all I started getting was matches with women from Africa or Southeast Asia, and I didn't really feel it because a lot of them just, to be honest, they just want to take it out of there and want to get to Europe or America or Canada. But I'm not going to get into that because that's irrelevant to this video, because it's about my new girlfriend. So eventually, I wanted to delete the app. I just was fed up with everything, and I matched with a Polish girl, a Polish woman, and we kicked it off, but it was kind of more just this intellectual understanding. And I didn't really know what she wanted from me or what she was expecting, and it took way too long for her to respond every single time. And at some point, we talked and talked and talked, and then she gave me her number, and then we started talking on WhatsApp. And before I realized it, 3 months passed by. We're together, and yeah, within 2 months, I'm gonna see her in person, We planned like this city trip stretched out over a week, holiday period together in January, celebrating her birthday, visiting a different country, spending time together and getting to know each other in person, building up that relationship, creating that intimacy and yeah, forming this strong bond. But lo and behold, she told me she had to go to the hospital. She had an appointment in the hospital because of her tonsils. And for many people, this procedure probably already happened when you were a child. And the whole thing that always came with it, the stereotypical point of it was now you're able to eat as much ice cream as you want to. And I had a close friend back in primary school and secondary school as well that had his tonsils removed. I never had mine removed, and a lot of people in my family were against it in general if it was not necessary, if it was a life-threatening thing going on, like your appendix that's going to burst. Like, this is kind of a different story. But so yeah, as an adult, as being 27, she made an appointment and she told me she would be in the hospital for about a week. She would be discharged after this weekend. We are November the 6th today, and Thursday today was her operation, the day of her operation, D-Day. And she didn't respond to me since not last night, but the night before, so 2 nights and 3 days by now. And I don't really understand what's going on, and I don't want to think the worst. I don't want to get into this bad habit like I used to have when I was with my ex and with some women before, where I'm being ghosted or, they basically just ditched me and just, I don't know, just ghosting basically. I don't want to think about that, but at the same time, I can't help myself question it. Not question her, but question it. And at this point, all I can see is that my message, I didn't start texting like crazy. I just sent something today, just kind of asking how the procedure went and kind of letting her know that I'm thinking about her, and that's it. Just one text in those 2 nights and 3 days. And she didn't respond, but the text or left on, this gray check mark on WhatsApp that she did receive it, but she hasn't read it yet. And now I'm not sure, like, okay, in the hospital, a lot of things can happen. She might have lost her phone. If she didn't have a charger and the phone died, then it probably wouldn't have had 2 gray check marks. You can basically read the message and swipe it away. And not getting blue check marks. You can also change the settings. Like, all these things are speculations. These things could have taken place. I don't know. And I'm just genuinely concerned because in a way, you get put under anesthesia, and there are always risks attached to it. You got to sign paperwork. I don't know about her insurance. There's so many things that I don't know because I'm not there. I have her name, her full name. I have her birth city. I have her phone number. I don't have OkCupid anymore, of course. And I mean, I could look her up. And the thing I was thinking about right now, and maybe that sounds a bit drastical, but in general, if I'm not going to be hearing from her again for whatever reason, whether it's deliberately done or it's just like she lost her phone or something, someone stole her phone, I don't know, then it's difficult. If it's deliberately done, then I'm not going to buy a plane ticket and fly over and try to look for her desperately, because I generally, sincerely, really care a lot about her. But if it's, something happened, or something happened to her or something happened to her phone, I don't know, then I kind of feel this urge to at least try and look for her. Maybe this kind of sounds like a plot for a movie, but I'm serious here. I don't know who's gonna watch this video, but I'm genuinely serious about it. I used to do those things when I was a teenager and in my early 20s, because I was, what is it called, a hopeless romantic. and someone that was more in love with the idea of romance and love and relationships than with, what actually relationships are about when you are with a woman. And then I toned down, concerning my intensity and my outlook on that by getting older. And so if I would do something like that, it would only be for a woman I'm genuinely into, I genuinely believe in, I trust, I faith in, and I care about. And like I said, we talked for 3 months. We've talked about everything, the relationship has been slowly building and growing naturally, no expectations, no forcing anything. And yeah, the next step would have been just meeting each other, having a holiday together, spending a week together, doing the city trip. And I'm looking really forward to it. And it would just be very sad if she ghosted me. She actually ghosted me. So it's very difficult. And maybe I'm trying to reach out to other people, other guys out there that might have experienced something similar. If we're talking about long distance relationships, meeting a woman online through a dating app and not going strong but steady, you know what I mean? And all of a sudden she stops communication, but she didn't block you or any of that sort. She just doesn't respond anymore. And like I said, you got to keep in consideration that this week she would be spending at the hospital. She would be leaving the hospital after the weekend, so I still have time to wait for a response. I mean, in the reasonable sense. But if she doesn't respond anymore after the weekend, let's say Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so the earliest would be Monday, let's say a Monday approximately, so 3-4 more days from now, then is this a clear sign that she doesn't care anymore? She lost interest? Did she meet someone else? An ex back in her life? Like, is this coincidence? Like, I don't know what to do with this. I mean, I'm very good at reading people and I'm hypersensitive, so I can pick a lot of things up without having to talk to someone. I can just sense it, it's in the air. But these things do trigger question marks, and it creates this little bit of a sensation of uncertainty because I'm not really sure what is going on, and I can fill in the blanks, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be true, that's based on truth. I will only know when it comes out of the mouth of the horse, like they say. I gotta wait for that to be sure, 100% sure, but at least I can, prepare myself. I don't want to have to go through being discarded, you know what I mean, or emotionally abandoned. These things are very painful, and again, if this would have been the case from the beginning, I'd rather not have engaged in any type of conversation with her. But since she told me that a relationship and getting to know someone is based on honesty from the beginning until the end, and that's all that she expects or expected from me, then I trusted her on that level, because I'm like, okay, you're about truth, honesty, sincerity, and no fakeness, no lies, no sneaky stuff. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. I'm an open person. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I tone myself down in the sense of intensity and passion and drive. If it comes to liking someone, being into someone, she keeps me tempered. She keeps my flame tempered, so that's really nice. When I tend to come off too strong at times because of what I'm feeling, you can blame testosterone. I do sense that she doesn't reject it or resents it, but she does pull me back to earth and make me, get me grounded again. And I like that. That's what you need. For anybody that wants to know, I'm a fire sign, she's an earth sign, so that kind of makes sense. Besides that, I don't know what to do at the moment. I mean, I don't want to, I'm not hopeless. I'm not going to constantly bombard her with text just to get a response, because that's not me. I used to be that as an anxious person when I was younger, when I was a teenager, in my early 20s. But I grew out of it, so I don't feel the need to do so. And I strongly believe if this is genuine and she's everything she has done is based on truth or in truth, then I should have faith in her. I should believe in her that when the time's there, I will hear from her. She will reach out of her own self. I don't have to trigger a response out of necessity or desperation because I'm clingy or needy. That's not the case. So because if if it would be the worst case scenario, let's say it would be the worst case scenario, and I would be ghosted or would have been ghosted or dumped, the silent discord, the emotional abandonment, then I don't know. I was thinking about it by myself earlier today when I was working, and I was like, if that would be the case, 100% to be true, that that's what happened to me or that what is going on right now, then I don't really feel the need anymore to take relationships serious anymore, women seriously anymore, life seriously anymore. Like, I think then I reached the point that I don't care anymore about relationships, women, and having this future together. Because if it's all about games, mind games, and playing with your emotions and just exploiting you, momentum, it's about what you have to offer, the dopamine, then it's pointless to always put myself out there again to re-experience something that just affects me negatively. And I'm very sure that I'm not the only guy out there that is going through it or has experienced something similar. Doesn't matter, what age. I'm 35, by the way, and I've experienced some traumatic relationships. You know what I mean? Like where you had a highly toxic partner that triggered a very negative aspect of yourself as well, as long as you were together. A good thing was that it never lasted too long, but this time, I know you're probably gonna tell me in the comment section like, yeah, we've heard that before, but this time it's different. And I don't want to sound cliche or corny, but I'm being sincere. Just hear me out. Why do I believe so? Is because I analyzed everything she said, and I've watched her every move, and I've even challenged her in a way where I wanted to really demonstrate, like, look, if this is just a waste of time, you're just getting to know me, trying to get everything out of me, use it, weaponize it against me, exploiting my kindness, my love, my generosity, then I don't see a point to continue talking or connecting or building this relationship if the end result is going to be the same like I've experienced in the last relationship prior to you. I did put it out there and we had a discussion, we had an argument. We both worked it out, we both continued talking about it, and we both apologized for our own wrongs and mistakes and faults because of the heated argument. And that for me was like the clear sign, okay, this person is not about BS. This woman is true to, stays true to her word. This woman is genuinely interested and cares about me, because if I analyze everything that she said and everything that she's done so far, it was always positive, in my best interest, and she never asked anything from me. And that kind of made a red flag go up and be like, okay, this might be the first time where I'm not pursuing a woman 100% and barely getting anything back. It's not just me putting in the time, the effort, the love, and getting something in return, but it's just mimicry just to get me off their back. And I'm not begging and pleading for them to stay so I can be in a relationship. So these things are definitely not part of this relationship. So that's a green flag for me, to me. But of course, there is always this big question where you ask yourself subconsciously, how well do I know her? And do I know her at all? Thinking about the short time frame that we've been getting to know each other. And she's been persistent. And it's not only me reaching out, she reaches out of herself. Most of the time she does, more often than I do. Basically it's balanced, but if we have to compare, she's the one reaching out more often. And she's not phone addicted. There is always some time in between, but it's healthy time in between. For me, it's just, the routine, the morning, good mornings and good evenings, and the in between. You know what I mean? And she sometimes surprises me with these pleasant questions and being supportive and giving me compliments in a healthy type of way, so healthy dosages. But like I said, how well do I know her? Do I know her well enough to really understand what's going on right now? That is a question I do ask myself, not to question her and her intensity, but to question everything that goes on when you start meeting someone new, when you start a new relationship. That's what I'm talking about. Because, yeah, relationship trauma is real. I'm not going to pretend I haven't got any relationship trauma. My ex and my ex both were just bad, bad shite, crazy to be polite, in their own way because of their own trauma. But then again, it also messes you up because of the relationship and the time spent together. So it doesn't really help anybody at the end of the day, and it doesn't fix them as a person. So, yeah, I'm really wondering what is going on, and I'll just keep an eye on my phone, to see if there might be an update at some point in time. I'll give it until the end of the weekend, past the week, beginning of next week, and let's see what happens. And I'll just keep you updated. And if anybody has got any advice or has an opinion they want to share, just let me know. I'm genuinely interested. I really want to hear someone's opinion, anyone's opinion that's watching, by the way, because these are these situations that you don't really know what to do. You're kind of feeling uncomfortable. You don't want to start going into this doomer mindset, but at the same time, you want to be realistic towards yourself, even if it's a bit more negative, because you want to prepare and prevent yourself from slipping into some type of unnecessary emotional breakdown and depression. Well, take care. Well, I'll talk to you later.